Boom, we're live, man.
Awesome, awesome stuff. For everybody who's watching, I just want to greet you. What a beautiful Tuesday afternoon it is here in the Philippines. And today we're going to be talking about something really great. We've got so much planned out for what we're going to talk about. And what's it called? Today's podcast session is called Navigating the Challenges of Early Career Development. And our guest here is the CEO, Chris Vincent of Primoff. And we're going to be diving deep into these questions I had prepared for him. And from there, for anybody who's listening, feel free to jump in with a curious question where you are right now in life. And if you feel that conversation we went into, there's a question that matters to you, just throw it in the comment section and then we'll get to it. All right. So, with that being said, Chris, hey man, how are you? Uh, Good day.
Hey, man, and thanks for setting this up. So,
Yeah.
how many of you guys watching are I just want to know because we now have audiences all over the place, man. So, um, how many of
True.
you guys are watching from Iloilo, from Manila, Mindanao? Show some pride. Comment where you are. And me personally, I'm doing great. I just went home. I just got home rather from a trip
Ah,
from the capital, Manila. And
yeah.
funny thing too, I went there because of a planned event. So we were supposed to go to Subic. I don't even know what's in there. Um, and fun fact, my trip was supposed to be next week. Not
Mm,
so uh, I missed the entire trip because I was there in advance. So,
I
but
see.
everything was fun. Everything was fun. Met with our friends, Royce, Miss Jane Hazel, Winchester, etc. Yeah, how about you, man? How are you?
Good. On a quick note, though, I have seen some pictures of your trip, and they're very artistic from the big theatrical places you've been. You probably watched a play.
Yeah, the Sound of
You're
Music.
art guy too, so you travel museums too, which I really love. You told us a story about a piece of artwork, which I read when it just came out. I was aware, like, hey, let me read this. And yeah, it talked about some history of like I think it was oppression about on women, and then you like it talked about like how another woman that was somewhat a gorilla in some sense, whatever that is, and she defended that woman, and you told a story about how unique that was, and and I can't remember that much, but just until there. So, but great
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah.
The
So
trip was art. The trip for some reason led to art. For some reason, um, and there were not to give gloom, so but there were also lots of signs of war, right?
I see.
So looming war, not just war in the past, but also what could be, So there's a lot of signs, and we'll see where that takes us,
I
right?
love that. And what I'm sniffing here, a whiff of the scent is like, sometimes our history informs our future. So we got to be aware of that. Yeah. So with that being said, though, thank you for that because I'll use that as an entry point and going to my first question is that so you've done successfully pretty well for yourself, and today is all about talking about those early stages before wars, right? So I think I want to know, and everybody wants to know, is that what was it like when you gone through your early stages of your career? Can you share key experiences, and then we'll transition to challenges. And what did you learn from those lessons, man? Take it away.
Yeah, that's interesting. What most people think that you start your career um, after you graduate. That's where you that's where you get your first job. But a lot of us actually start our careers as early as, well, for some, it might not apply for everyone, but I believe it starts as early as when we start going to school. or the intention behind why we studied, as why we chose a particular course to study or schools to actually go to. So mine, interestingly enough, there my life was basically set in stone. So even before graduating college, I actually had jobs prepared for me both locally and abroad, right? So if I wanted to be a nurse, I could have been, and I could have went abroad as soon as I graduated. But I ended up choosing software engineering because of games. So I wanted to make my own games, and then that was so dumb because after attending class for the first time in my life, I never failed from elementary to high school, never failed. But for the first time in my life, after going through college, I was overwhelmed. The math, the programming, and the free schedule, the free time, right? So I ended up deciding, hey, you know what? Maybe I should just join the military or something. So I became an officer in ROTC, and while there, I was also doing network marketing. So and that and probably that's is that really my first job? Not necessarily. I also taught martial arts for a while, but let's just say network marketing is the pinnacle of my early career. Okay, and it's funny because a lot of young people actually start there as well. Network marketing, despite the fact that it's a controversial industry, most young people actually start there and they develop entrepreneurial skills. In my case, I was overwhelmed with both school and the fact that my parents weren't rich, and I was feeling for the first time in my life. So I felt guilty, but I'm finding success in network marketing. So I decided, you know what, I'll quit school. You know, I'll quit school. I'll focus on business and see where it takes me. Long story short, guys, don't be me. Um, at the end of the day, 10 years later, I ended up enrolling myself to another course that's basically a diploma course. Anyway, I in short, let me save you the time. Graduate as early as you can, because if you don't, even if you succeed in business, somewhere down the line you'll still have to study anyway. So um, there, I gave up to focus on my business. And fun fact, I failed. Right, at the age less than 20 years old at the time, I was in debt 6 figures. I had no diploma and I was shamed. Okay. So I was a prodigy. I was a genius. I still am, right? Um, but the difference now was that now I had real failures that my family, my extended family, the friends of my parents, people who know me can actually use against me. Okay? So, yung phrase na sayang, right? How many of you have ever been the receiving end of that phrase? Right? Sayang naman, sana, or another phrase, sana. Diba? Sana naging matino si Chris. Sayang, ang talino naman sana, pero walang degree, etc., etc. Right? So that's basically what happened, right? So before I go further, anything you want to add there, Matt?
Yeah, I just want to say right off the bat, because these are heavy hitters with point of views where you came from an environment where you succeeded and you brought that into the game or in another environment of life where you had a first taste maybe of like, oh, this isn't working for me. But the thing is about you that I noticed that is Chris, man, is that the guy that succeeded in school academics, I think he carried out what made him successful there. The philosophies maybe it's just maybe okay. I just need to take time and study, and you brought it there. So, but to give us a deeper look into that, man, can you just pick a phase in any of those difficult situations of adjustment? And through maybe looking into yourself, you personally, and probably wasn't even called personal development then by you, but eventually you saw that, oh, this is actually me helping myself. So in one of those obstacles, man, how did personal development help you overcome the challenges and obstacles? What were the words flowing through your mind towards yourself, and how did that play out?
Yeah, it's funny. It's exactly what you say. I've been reading Tony Robbins since I was like 14. So second year tayo sa Washong, bro. I was already reading Tony Robbins. And I'm like, um, but I read Tony Robbins for the wrong reasons. I wanted to manipulate people. So I wanted to, parang and use NLP to get my way. So which is funny. Um, and funny enough, I don't use NLP all that much anymore, not unless people pay me to. Um, but it's funny. So siguro if I were to add a time and place where personal development really stuck into me. So it was during the time, balik tayo sa networking days. Networking days, the companies I had mentors, bad, good. Let's just say they were both good and bad mentors at the same time. Okay. So I had good and bad mentors during my time in network marketing, and they've already told me the secrets of the universe. So it's very funny because um, and I quite literally I tell you it may sound woo woo, but there are secrets to the universe. There are secrets to winning. They taught me that, but I learned for free. Hindi ako nagbayad. I did not pay or earn the right to use that information. So, long story short, I only understood 10 to 20% of the initial concept at the time and was only able to fully understand what was taught. For example, the law of attraction. So, how many of you guys know what the law of attraction is? Right? Type the secret in the comments, just so I know. Okay. For example, the law of attraction. I learned the law of attraction when I was very young, around 16, I think. Understood it 10 to 20%. And what did it give me at the age of 16? It helped me close six-figure investors. It helped me travel all around the country. And here's the fun part. I was able to travel all around the country spending nothing of my own money. Right? So nakalabas, I was able to experience so many things, and and I barely paid for anything. Right? Because of the law of attraction. Yan yung gusto ko eh. Yan yung ginusto ko. In terms of relationships at the time, um, none were that really meaningful, but I got to pick who I want as my partners. So it was crazy. Okay. However, because I lacked the understanding to know what the law of attraction is, I was also blinded by my ego. Meaning, ano nangyari? Uh, I assumed that I was the center of the universe. I assumed na um, I had the power to get everything I want at an early age. So what happened? The universe had to humble me down and basically made me fail business. So yung six-figure investors nawala. The company that I was working with nawala. Um, napunta sa scam, etc., etc. Right? But what did happen next? What did happen next? Because I had to fend for myself. I had to find other ways of income. I had to learn somewhere else. I paid for a program. It's called Millionaire Mind Intensive. So MMI by T. Harv Eker. So Millionaire Mind Intensive, ito yung matindi. There was no MMI in Iloilo. You have to fly to Manila, book your accommodation, and basically attend the event. So yung funny dyan is that I had to sleep in the airport. I had to ask help from friends and family members, and I'm still really grateful for them to allow me to stay in Manila. But here's the thing, though: my stay in Manila um, was not the most pleasant. In a way, I had to walk, ano tawag dito? I had to walk before going to, I had to walk a really long time before I was able to go to my accommodation. Right? I had to adjust to people because I was only doing favors. I was asking for favors. Um, I had to, what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of in terms of food, I barely even had enough for food, so I don't really remember if I ate or not. But the fun part is that after MMI, less than a year, boom, 7 figures. You know, and the lesson was this: whatever I was taught when I was 16 was the same lesson that was taught in the program. The only difference is I paid for it this time. Nagbayad ako ng pera, nagbayad ako ng time, and more than that, I slept in an airport just to show up for those lessons. So that's where I realized now, oh, damn, personal development really works, you know. And yeah, let's take it from there. Thoughts, man?
Wow, man. Just from the beginning that you talked about the law of attraction and what is it really attracting you to do, right? Is it to look inward and develop a certain type of person that can entertain multiple facets of different problems? And you paying to find an expert on subjects and you look for the best, one of the best too.
Yep.
And yeah, and you paid with something more precious than money, man, your time.
Oh,
Yeah, go
let
for it,
me add another thing.
please.
I paid someone I did not like. I took all that effort to hear someone I did not like. Whoever was the facilitator that at the time was Dog Nelson, I think. I hated the dude. I hated the dude.
I
But I
see.
had no choice. The dude knows something I did not. So
Mm,
no choice. I had to listen to him. Anyways, back to you,
awesome.
man.
Yeah. So what's awesome about what you just additionally shared,
Anyways.
good afternoon, Mr. Rusty. Um, you overlooked that you didn't like the person just because you understood far deeper in the law of attraction that you sought out with him that he had something worth developing for you. You had to have it for your own so you can develop it. So tell us a bit about that, Chris. What were the words? And I'm sure everybody has found themselves in discuss with somebody, but they know that urge that I have to learn something. And what would you say to your younger self again, now knowing that more of it now? What was that?
The urge that they have to learn something. And what will I say to my younger self? Well, here's the thing, guys. If you're really itching to learn something, um, it's called uh, it's called a lot of things, but I like to call it the a part of the hero's journey, right? It's the call to adventure. So, and if there most of the time when that happens, there could be a lot of doubts in people's minds, right? How can I afford this? What will people think? Is this even worth it? Will everything be okay after that? It all of that doesn't matter. Okay, when you're compelled or called to do something, um, it's best to answer the call as early as you can, because sometimes, and the call to adventure sometimes it's not something easy. So for some it sounds like this: you need to take a leap of faith or take more risks so that you can earn more money. You know, and somehow it makes sense. But what if the call to adventure sounds like this: you have to cut off your family and put yourself first, right? What if it sounds like that, diba? So it's crazy. So, but my point here is that when you have that very strong feeling or urge to do something, you know, to act on something, especially in terms of personal development and learning. Okay, personal development does not just mean, um, or career development does not just mean you earn more money. Does not just mean you get more time. Does not just mean you get better relationships. Okay, or does not just mean you'll feel better or get healthier. Sometimes it also means you have to face real people, or you have to let go and face real people who are holding you back. And some of these people may be people who you love, right? But at the end of the day, it's all worth it, because here's what happened, and I just want to relate this to real life. When I decided to drop out, my family and I fought, right? And it took probably a year before the topic became from sayang to something like um to something like, we're so proud of you. Okay, for me it took that long, right? A year. For some people it may take even longer. Okay, but in my case, my family and I fought. We were subject to humiliating things, but at the end of the day, dropping out for me was the best decision of my life. Okay, there was even a time, and I'll even make it into something smaller. Although, again, disclaimer, discern. Okay, from sayang to buti na lang. Thank you, Sir John. And it's also your opportunity to discern. Okay, one of the things that I stopped doing that made me successful is asking for permission. Okay, usually I ask permission out of courtesy. Or one of the things that I do, for example, is that when I know my what I'm about to do might offend someone that I care about, I give them a heads up. Okay, bro, bro, I'm going to this person, and we have to talk about this. Or client A, I need to talk to your competitor, right? What I did in the past is I always ask for permission to go out, to go somewhere. In this particular day, there was a storm, so and I have to go out of town just to show up. So went out of town. There's a storm, and basically my family, I have to ask permission from my family, and if I asked them, they would have said no, and because it's dangerous, the roads are slippery, etc., etc. Uh, a roof might fly out of somewhere and cut my head, right? It could happen. So, but for that day, for some reason, I just decided to push for it. And lo and behold, a week after that, I went to Pasig, an hour. It's a city away, an hour away from Iloilo. A week later, I closed my first six-figure investor at the age of, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. So crazy stuff, right? So there's that. Um, and it never ends, guys. Personal development never ends. Um, at 27, I probably live the life of what every bachelor dude dreams of, right? I have my own place, multiple properties. I can travel anywhere I want, um, etc., etc. Uh, to the point where I'm even very bored now, right? But at the end of the day, the next thing I'm working on, health. I've I've worked too much on other stuff. Now it's time for me to work on myself, right? So fun stuff. Matt.
Thanks, man. And I was actually gonna, ask you. You already showed it, already answered my next thing in my mind, and we'll just transition to the next. But the thing I was about to ask is like, okay, how about in personal life? How did that affect look like,
Ah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
and professional wise. So you hit the mark there, man. I have to agree with you a lot there because, and I have to speak some more words, more an abundance of words more about it because I really agree where when that urge to do something and and you have to figure this out first, right? You have to dabble with it a few times to see, oh, I should be taking these type of actions. So sometimes it looks hard to do, but there's all the right reasons to do it too. All the wrong reasons aren't that loud, I believe. So when you do actually do it, and The difficult parts are obvious. You just go through it, and then good things happen. But to overlook the obstacles is the challenge, right? So in personal, you mentioned it. It because when you do something for yourself, that obviously sets up other people you love good in good positions too. You have to be separate because you could deal with it, and it's on you to deal with it. Um, Now, doing that is overlooking the obstacle that okay, for a brief moment in my life, in my time, this will not look good, but
Yep.
eventually it will brighten up. So yeah, thank you, man. And that transition to professionalism too, your professional life in your work, you identified, and that's going to be part of my question, but you already answered that, which is when you identify the similar things in your career, you should take action right away, even though the difficulties have presented themselves again, and just go for it, man. And then just uh, utilize the understanding of what a good opportunity is and just work on understanding it more, which is really amazing, man. And if you were to give advice to any youngsters, man, who are having trouble overlooking that obstacle, what kind of guidance would you have these new graduates in the field of life have them look at so that it wouldn't be that difficult so they can cope with the never ending challenges you mentioned before? What does that look like?
I would say money is the least of your problems. Don't don't choose life, or don't plan out your life in terms of how much you're gonna earn, because that's quite literally the lowest achievement you guys can get, especially when you're young. At that age, um, if I were to start all over, 16 to 25 years old, I would still focus on skills, exactly what I did in the past. I would find I would find good mentors, and sometimes good mentors are in the form of dicks, right? And so bad bosses. Sometimes good mentors are come in the form of bad bosses. So um, and sometimes also don't overlook that position is not power. Okay, it's just a title. Real power is you can see in any organization or in any group, in any community, you will know who exactly is or who exactly has power. So, and sometimes it's not the one with the most title. Sometimes it's the guy who actually whispers in the ears of the title. Sometimes it's his wife who has real power. And it's your job to discern what those are and actually learn from these people as much as you can. Find these people as much as you can, and of course determine the values that you want to live your life, determine the values that you want to live and accept into your life. Okay, because again, money, guys, I don't know about you, but if I were to receive, okay, here I cannot stress enough how many millions of pesos I've rejected in the past because my values just don't align with certain people or organizations. Okay, so I own a media company. I said no to basically money from one of our presidential candidates. Right, I'm not gonna say who. Um, and it's great because I have a choice. Right, when 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 I was negotiating with one company, I did not beg them to give me my money back. I was in a position of power wherein I know my rights and I have lawyers to make sure that whatever those rights are honored. Normal people will have the right and actually um, will actually have to bow down and appeal to these masters, etc., etc. Okay, so And it's not because, and I'm able to do that not because of money. I'm able to do that because I can keep money. Okay, I can sustain a certain amount of lifestyle, um, and actually have and sustain a community of good people around me. Okay, and you can only do that if, number one, you focus on building your skills. Okay, and number two, you know exactly what values you should accept into your life. Okay, money, how much you're gonna earn is bullshit. But of course, that's the trap, right? That's yeah, that's the trap for, um what's the word I'm looking for most people. And probably, as someone else hears me say that, they will say, uh you can masasabi mo lang yan kasi may pera ka, etc., etc. Well, I did not have money growing up, so checkmate. Anyways, go ahead, man.
Thanks, man. And yeah, I really appreciate the skill values part, where those should be the highlight of any beginner to be a master like yourself who has now choices, and those choices are enlightened by your values, and they don't just transcend the money options. They actually give you like a spiritual choice where you're not, because some people I believe are subjected to make money making decisions out of a lack of skill or values perhaps more, and succumb to a different path, or a dark road, in my opinion. And yeah, so that's that. But if you find yourself emitting frequencies that you values more, and proper skills, then that pathway will lead you to Chris Vincent, perhaps, where you have a choice to say no to the things that are by far at that time, maybe the reasons that could make someone rust themselves out, like metal rust themselves out. You can say no to that, because if you don't keep it around you, it will never affect you. So thank you for that, man. From that understanding, I found out more about what to actually focus on a daily basis once you get a good grasp on that skill value that you want to work on. So when young people, and we talked about your future, that's how you did it. When young people want to engage with that, Chris, man, when they're looking for a job, in that small period of their time, what do you think are the necessary skills and values when looking for a job in that space, just in that space? Go for it.
Soft skills will matter more than hard skills. And to be fair, I don't really have a clear definition of what hard skills are, but soft skills, communication, how you communicate, will definitely play a major role in your career. So remember, the best leaders are the best communicators. So not just, and I'm not saying not just with the people, communicate with the people on top, but people around you. Okay, so communication, that's one. Negotiation, number two. And siguro, let's just limit it to three for now. But negotiation, number one, is the very basic thing you should know with negotiation. Number one is know your value. Okay, and your value does not usually mean price. Okay, so just because, and that's where most people, don't this is what most people don't get. Sometimes you could be paid, let's say, 30,000 pesos a month, but your value is 50,000, and the company is still not treating you. Bakit? Well, check your lifestyle, right? If you're earning 50,000 per month, and this certainly happened with me, not certainly happened with me, right? I was earning money more than I can handle. So what happened was, I went crazy and I almost let go of that opportunity because I wasn't ready. Okay. So, but it just so happened that I was able to realize na, hey, you know what? If I was just to look at myself, this is my value. But if I were to look at my territory or the people that I'm helping, then my value just went up. So I can't let this go. I need to make sure I need to keep this so I can take care of these, right? So knowing yourself, that's number one, and number two, knowing your terrain, your territory. That includes sim- you can read more with Art of War, but this includes the people around you, your bosses, the weather or terrain, right? Etc., culture, etc. So just know that, and of course, at the end of the day, um, know what the line is. Know your boundaries. Okay, so know yourself, know your terrain, know your boundaries. That's negotiation. And the last one is, well, that's pretty much it. Actually, the last one is exactly that: knowing your boundaries. Know where you want, or know who you want to be 10 years down the line. Okay, so, and I say 10 years because, well, sometimes a year is too fast. Okay, there's so much that happens in a year, and sometimes we don't really get the lesson. But here's the fun part: when you declare who you want to be 10 years from now, you begin to attract events in your life that lead you to becoming who that guy is. Okay, so declare who you want to be, and then hopefully have the discernment and wisdom to realize that whatever is happening to you is in preparation to who you might become. And here's the fun part, and let me relate that in my real life. I learned Tony Robbins when I was 14. I learned how to manipulate people at 16. And here's the fun part: I never use that anymore at the age of 26 because I don't need them anymore. I never have to lie or negotiate or whatever, because what's the word I'm looking for? Because I realized that for me to fully let go of the temptation to use power against other people, I have to experience it at a young age and abuse it and actually burn myself. The mistakes burn etch into my memory, and I just realized now, okay, you know what? That's not for me. And it could be the same with bad relationships. Okay, so Matt, let's go ahead and then last question, and we'll call it a day.
Thank you, man. I just want to say I really appreciate you for debunking and demystifying the preliminary marks of what a person is looking for a job, aka opportunity. What are the foundations, or what should you seek in values and skills, which is communication and negotiation and boundaries. I and you placed them so beautifully well. And the boundaries is the third one because through the manifestation of a better you through a better communication path and negotiation path. And your short story there that you used it at 16 manipulation, which is that was your boundaries. I mean, so through the endeavor of trying to learn the best communication skills you have and the best negotiating skills you'll ever discover in your life, you'll also discover your boundaries in them. And when you do find those, that's when you'll stop doing some certain things, but you'll also realize some things that do work, but it can, and eventually it will work better if you let go of the manipulation part that got etched as a bad thing for you. But you grew wiser and smarter at the same time, and it's a contrast. It's like yin and yang, but and you got to have the stomach to do it too. That's the objective of learning at a young age. When you come out of school, go look for a job. The boundaries will present themselves when you find a skill you want to improve. So thank you, man. So last question, right? I'll combine the two na lang para we'll get the most out of you for today. So thank you so much again. The question that has two in them is that
Sure, I
when
can
you,
hear you.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
So
I can hear you.
all right, I'll just say the question then. So when you're adapting to your new work, once you got the job and you've identified the skills and the values you want to work on, how do you adapt in that environment? Now, what do you do the most? Can you give us an example where the identified skills and values were there, and in that environment, how do you play along in that environment that you got the most out of it for your purpose to strengthen those skills and values? And obviously there's stress along the way from people, from peers to people, and you yourself as well. Maybe you were sometimes the obstacle in the way. How did you,
For
yeah,
sure.
how did you enlighten yourself so you can look past the obstacle and just go for it, the goal that you had in mind, and you can identify when you've done that, right? So how was it? How was it?
Yeah. So okay, I'll just make it very simple, hopefully. But yeah, Miss A, thank you for listening. Um, so number one is knowing your goals. Okay, so actually define what you want to achieve in any organization. So, for example, in my case, if it's my first job, um, I would really want to know what the heck the owner did to be ultra successful, right? Or if it's actually really a successful business, because sometimes it could just be an illusion, right? So, for example, they have a very nice office, but upon entering the company, you notice their work culture is a piece of shit, right? So, find out, right? At least define that. So, I would find the things that would make why is that business successful, and actually also allow the business, and I'm just open to allow the business to teach me whatever the lesson I get. So sometimes I don't really know. Okay, so um, and most of the time I actually don't know. Most of the time I actually don't know what I'm learning. So how do you define a successful business? Well, that's also for you to find out. Sometimes it may not just be money. For example, like I said, the business could be a piece of shit, but why is it? How did it sustain itself? Why is it still alive? Why are good people actually staying in the company? So those are the stuff I'm looking for. And it's not the free spa sessions, and it's probably not the free yoga class, diba? Or maybe it could be. Who knows? Yun lang. At least define what you want to get out and be open. Okay. The reason why you need to be open is that sometimes the lesson that you want to learn is something that, what's the word I'm looking for? Is something that you don't want to learn at the same time. So, for example, in my case, sometimes it's just finding out that I never want to be this guy. Right? Yeah, the company is amazing. It's doing great financially, but I never want to be like you. So, sometimes it's like that. Okay, because why a piece of shit and successful? Because life is not really biased, but subjective, right? For some people, being a piece of shit is success, right? Pera lang yung pag-usapan. For example, let's look at our president, right? So, um, despite the war crimes, he still succeeded into becoming our. I sorry, war crimes. Despite the crimes, he still succeeded into becoming president, right? So successful naman siya. So there's stuff like that. Next, after you define what you want, okay, work around the culture. So try your best to not let your ego get in the way. Okay, try to detach yourself from the results. Because sometimes here's the thing with ego, right? What's the yung tendency ng tao usually with ego is that they wanna take advantage of the company because they're smart, right? They wanna especially the young ones right now. Tawag dito, they like circumventing policies because it makes them feel smart and amazing. But at the end of the day, you know, um, maybe you're using the sick leave for the wrong reasons. Maybe you're using the vacation leaves for the wrong. And I'm not speaking for for experience, uh, because it's very easy to circumnavigate stuff. Okay, I'm speaking based on what I hear from my friends, etc. Who work in corporate. Anyways, so yun, right? Separate your ego from the culture and just absorb what is. and see the power dynamics within the group. Okay, so this person, ito yung role niya. And and speaking of roles, don't look at positions, look at roles. Okay, when I say roles, usually within companies there are what you call communities. Communities are formed, and each communities may mga roles yung mga members na yan, right? Some people are there to offset certain members. Some people are there to comfort other members. Some people, there's a reason why the dynamics of a group is happening. So find out. So detach yourself and find out, and hopefully, go full out. Right, while you're doing that, do the best you can to learn and get as much information from everyone and build as great relationships as you can. Right, and siguro the last one is I had an idea earlier, but to be honest, I lost it. Pero just and can you ask me the question again, man?
Yes, the last part was managing stress. What does it look like for you? These passages where,
Right.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and of course, when it comes to managing stress, you need to remember that your life at work is just one part of your life. Okay? Just like just like what I mentioned with roles, you are also playing a role within that community. And when you leave, that role stays at work, or as much as possible, make it stay in your workspace. Okay, don't bring it home. When you're home, maybe play the role that you're supposed to play. If you're a son, play the role as a son, a brother, or whatever. Okay. If you're married, make sure you play the role as the husband or wife. Okay. Don't bring as much as possible. If you're a father and a mother, play that role when you get home. Right. Eventually, as you play the roles, you'll come to an understanding of what you want to be and what you don't want to be, and hope that it just flows naturally, or maybe you choose, right? You can either choose or let life just flow naturally, so that one day you don't have to play roles anymore. You can just be, and regardless of where you are, you have the power to be yourself. Okay, so I think that's a good way to end, right,
Wow.
Matt?
Yeah, I could have never asked for a better one than that, man. That was the best. Be present in your role, but there are many roles. Identify those and be them. Just through that,
You
you have
can
the
just
being
be.
that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great stuff, man. And again, thank you for your time. And for everybody who's been watching, thank you so much for the comments. Thank you for your energy that you've been feeding us, the CEO and me, so we can, create more conversations that could possibly inform you through Chris Vincent. In short, through his past, your future will be more informed. So thank you so much, guys. And again, Chris Vincent, the CEO of Prime Off, thank you so much for your time. And see you on the next one. Bye.
See you guys.